Greetings, my friends. That sign is wrong. So I recorded this video and then I went and looked at what I had recorded. I recorded this yesterday and I went and looked at what I recorded and I was unhappy with it. I had all of my part 2 finished. I answered all of the questions and it was probably fine, but I started perfectionisting. That's a word now. And INFJing, which we know is a word. And my brain just couldn't handle it. I'm like, you know what? This didn't feel up to my standard. And so I spoke too fast. I said and too many times, which I do anyway. See, I just did it again. I didn't even think I was doing that. Oh, why is this so difficult? All right, let's just get this started. Here we go. So I was thinking to myself, okay, look, this is a teachable moment, right? Because a lot of you, and I have questions about it for this round. Many people struggle with perfectionism and how it does prevent you from doing things, and it holds you back, and it makes you miss out on things, and it's just really frustrating. So I'm like, all right, I had two choices. I could have let that video go out and basically just been like, okay, this is what it is, and I'm sorry, I just threw trash at you, even though I've been doing really well lately. And I couldn't do that. The other choice I had was to basically re-record it, which is what I'm doing right now. So this is kind of so it's like part two, or part 2, the retelling of part 2. I don't know. They do this with movies all the time. Like, oh, let's just reissue it with different actors, and it's another movie. So here I am. I'm going to get to the questions, and it is kind of appropriate that it's because of the whole perfectionism thing. It's kind of appropriate that I had to do this, but here we are. And I thought, you know what, let me just be open and honest about it. The one I recorded yesterday, I felt like was trash. And so here we go. All right. So I'm getting straight to questions now. Jed asks, can you talk about being in a romantical relationship, with an INFJ from the point of view of both people involved? The "you're welcome and I'm sorry" comment was funny and relatable. That was totally off the cuff. Like, I didn't even realize I said that until I went back and watched the video. Also, what's the right amount of people time and getting out of your comfort zone? That one I'll handle in a different question. So being in a romantical relationship with an INFJ from both perspectives. All right. Well, I think because of, remember that you have to separate the personality from your cognitive processing. As an INFJ, and just the way that you process and think things through, you have that tendency to bounce stuff around and look for subtext and look for patterns and sort of analyze everything that your intuition is kind of sucking up like a giant cognitive vacuum cleaner. Because of that, if you are with somebody that does tend to speak in subtext relatively often, or tends to hide their own emotions relatively often and not be very upfront about it, it can be very, very difficult for you because you're going to start thinking through some of the worst case scenarios, even though that is likely not what is going through the other person's head. So I'd say from the point of view as an INFJ, I appreciate relationships, and both relationships and friendships, by the way, where somebody will be upfront with me. And when I know that that's coming from a good place and that's coming from a place of care, then I'm great with it. And because it helps me, and it helps me to understand that other person and the way they communicate and talk. As far as the perspective of another person being with an INFJ, and in particular, congratulations and I'm sorry, that is a tongue-in-cheek way of just saying that, look, there's a certain way that we tend to be, and it's not everybody. It's not all INFJs. Some of us are mature and can handle things, and we understand. And that comes from being able to step back and take a long look at ourselves and accept the fact that, we think the way that we do, and we process things and we absorb information the way that we do. We do all have separate personalities and likes and dislikes. And so I think anytime you're talking about a relationship, it's probably better to remove INFJ from the equation. not consider it and not think about it as something that is a huge element to your relationship with another person. I see this stuff. There's so much pop science stuff about INFJs online, and to be honest, it does drive me crazy. It's like this is what an INFJ is like on a coffee date, and this is what an INFJ is like when he gets in a fight with his girlfriend, and this is what an INFJ is like when he's attacked by marmosets, and this is what an INFJ is like when he has too much ice cream. Like, can we just stop with all this stupid stuff? Seriously, because it's just toxic, and it just puts you in a box, and it doesn't take in any consideration into the actual personality that you have and what you do and what you like. I've met INFJs that are jerks. I've met INFJs that are beautiful people. I've met more beautiful people than jerks, but that's probably has nothing to do with being an INFJ. It just has to do with the fact that I don't like to hang out with jerks. So like anything, communication is going to be key. If you're in a relationship with an INFJ, it's helpful for you to understand how they think, and that they're going to have moments where they are really overwhelmed, and those thoughts are kind of a runaway freight train on them at some points, and that you need to be able to handle them in the right way and put your hands on them and be like, dude, it's okay. Like, it's cool. I know you're overwhelmed right now, and we got this, and let me help you. On the flip side, as an INFJ, it is critical for you to understand the people that you talk to and the people that you are in a relationship with. It doesn't make any sense, and it's actually like a really terrible thing to do, to say, I am this way and you need to work around it. It's more important for you to say, okay, I am this way, and I need to understand my partner so we can communicate on a good level, and so I know what they need and they know what I need. And that's true for any relationship. It really has nothing to do with being an INFJ at that point. But I think dealing with somebody that does speak in subtext, that is where you're going to have an issue, and where your mind will run away a little bit. And oftentimes those are manipulative people and those are narcissists. It's just the way it goes. So there's that. I hope that helps, Jed. Next question. Chris asks, any suggestions for someone looking to start martial arts? Yes. Looking to lose weight, increase flexibility, and get myself out there, what to avoid and what to look for. Oh boy. Okay, so sadly, the current state of affairs in the martial arts industry is one that's very much circled around profit at any expense. It is circled. It highlights, get your black belt in 2 years, or get your black belt online, which is just crap. Don't ever believe anybody that says that. And it's the karate birthday parties and do this and do that and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, it's an activity if that's the kind of dojo that you go to, but it's not very fulfilling. And so I think the main thing to focus on if you're looking to get into martial arts, which, by the way, for introverts is an amazing activity because it is really centered around yourself. The only thing you're trying to do is be better than the person that looked at you in the mirror the day before. And if you can improve a little bit every day, you're going to get there and you're going to be amazing. If you're in an environment where it is highly competitive, or where you are forced to do activities that don't really resonate with you, then you're going to have a hard time and you're not going to last. And really it is about improving yourself. And ultimately it's about self-defense. And a lot of people think to themselves, well, I just want to do karate for the health benefits. I don't really want to do it for self-defense. It's a wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is karate is self-defense, and you need to understand that. And if you can get to a place or a school that understands what goes into that, then that's really key. To understand what I mean here, I want you to think about a fire, right? A campfire, for instance. You need 3 things to make a fire. Okay, you need fuel, which is something to burn, like a piece of wood. You need heat, obviously. You can't start a fire with water. And you need oxygen. Okay, without those 3 things, if any one of those 3 things is missing, you don't have fire. Without wood, you don't have the fire. Without oxygen, you can't start a fire in space, right? And without heat, obviously, there's no fire. Self-defense is the same way, and your training as far as martial arts is the same way. You need 3 things: will, skill, and ability. Will is willpower. You need to be able to say, like, I can do this, and I need to really hold myself accountable and put in a lot of effort. You need skill, which is you need to learn what to do, and that's part of taking class and learning and practicing. And you need ability, and that means working on your body, because if you don't work on your body, you can't do the things, and you can't you can't show off that skill. If you're at a dojo that understands those three things, that there is a mindset involved in martial arts that is critical to being able to do things, to overcome obstacles, to push and to not quit, and that there is skill involved and you need excellent instruction, and that there's ability involved and you need to work on your body. And that means putting in squats and push-ups and cardio and all of those different things. Because if you do have to defend yourself and you aren't strong and you aren't flexible and you're not used to endurance in confrontation, you're not going to be successful. So anyway, I do hope that helps. Look for the right place that's the right fit and that's the right level for you. But also understands that, they should know what you want to get out of it, just like you know what is available there. And that's how you find a good match for martial arts. It's a great question. I could talk about it, obviously, for hours and hours. I'm not going to do that. We're going to move on. Okay, so this one was a combination of a bunch of questions, and they're all kind of the same. Basically, how to become less guarded around others, pushing yourself out into the real world, not just dwelling on your own isolation. Lama Jama INFJ, really, Lama Jama INFJ, that's a great username, asks, how do you learn to accept yourself when you've always lived a chameleon life to get people to like you? I.e., leaning towards your extroverted side to get the extroverted world to somehow accept you because your introversion doesn't get the same attention or appreciation. And that is, Lama Jama INFJ said that they are an INFJ in a quarter life crisis. There's no such thing as a quarter life crisis. Stop that right now. James asks, hello, David, fellow alien. First, I appreciate what you are doing. Thank you very much. Second, I have a crisis, the constant need to be alone at times, and other times I feel so lonely. And so, we're going to go back to alone and lonely. So these three questions are basically the same thing is, I'm pretty introverted and I get a little overwhelmed in groups and people. And how do I balance that? Because I know I need it, but I also know I need the solitude. Now, this is great. For an introvert, you should know that you need both things and you should be able to really hone in on both of those. I think being able to look in the mirror and understand that when you are... Do you ever see those Snickers commercials where they're like, the guy's like the monster, he's like a Yeti, and then like he has like a bite of a Snickers bar and it's like back to normal? It's kind of like that in a way. If you, when you see yourself turning into somebody that you don't like, chances are you need something. I know many of you are parents. I have 3 boys, and I remember from those baby days that if they're screaming and crying and everything else, it's usually I'm hungry, or I need to eat, or I need to sleep, or there's something that you need to clean. And a lot of times when you are an unbalanced introvert, it's the same way. You will start to get cranky or overwhelmed or anything else. And that's just your body saying, hey, whoa. You need something right now and you need to go get it. And a lot of times that is solitude. But also you could be in your house and a little stir crazy and a little depressed. And that feeling is your body saying, you know what? You need to reach out and you need to talk to somebody now. And you need to gather some, stretch those cognitive INFJ muscles and talk to somebody else. So the way I balance it is if I like a lot of variety. So I'll go out one day and I'll have coffee with a friend of mine. And then the next day I know I've got quiet time and I take advantage of the quiet time. And then I'll really flip back and forth. If I know that like for the entire week, I've got a people all week, then that's going to be a rough week. I also know that if the entire week I'm alone every day, all day, that's also a tough week. So find the balance, find the variety, and let yourself introvert and be okay with it. Don't think that you're a bad person just because you need some quiet time. It's the exact opposite is true. You're a good person because you know you need it and you go get it. And that's just what self-care is all about. All right. So next question. Casey asks, what your opinion is on what kind of jobs and careers are good and not good for INFJs and why, maybe even using your own experiences as an example. I've had some jobs. So back in the day, I was a paper boy. Great job throwing papers at houses. Got let loose with some aggression when I was, a young kid. And I also did a lot of, I worked in a supermarket, and it wasn't even customer service. I was the one that got the carts and mopped the floors and cleaned up the spills. And yes, I had to clean the bathrooms. Now, they used to call me, I'm going to be totally honest about this bit of my life. I was labeled the commander of the commode. also the kernel of the urinal. I'm not really happy with either of those, but it was kind of funny at the time, and I was okay with it. I took pride in my work, which was a clean bathroom, because there's some really gross people out there that use public restrooms. I'm just saying. Where I really started to hone in on understanding the kind of job that I wanted was well past my years of schooling. And it's when I got into a tech support gig, a telephone tech support gig. And you're thinking, okay, this is terrible because you're an introvert and they're going to stick you by a phone for a 10-hour shift that won't stop ringing with people that are sometimes angry and you need to fix their problems. But also, I got to fix people's problems. Like, that was kind of cool. And that really exercised my brain, especially from kind of an analytic standpoint, just to be able to talk to them, identify what the issue is, help them out. And a lot of times, leave that phone call with them feeling great appreciation for me for fixing up their issue, which felt pretty good. Eventually, I got into programming, which is good for me because it's kind of, there's some solitude to it. I get to fix some problems. I get to help people to make their job easier by the things that I'm doing. So it really does hit on a lot of things. I think for an INFJ, or for, maybe not just for an introvert in general, but for an INFJ, you want to make sure that you're doing something where you get to help. Helping somebody do something. If you are just stamping papers or just collecting money, or, for crying out loud, and I did this job too, cold call sales, which is like, I don't know how people do it. I really don't, because it's just like, hi, let's take somebody with lots of insecurities who overthinks things and put him in an environment where it's just rejection all day. That was a really rough job, and I didn't last very long at all. So I think anytime you're doing something where you're helping people and you're kind of fulfilling that need, and something that hones in on your skills. Again, everybody's education and personality is very different. So if you enjoy doing it and you get to help people at the same time, score. Excellent question. Next one, Marwa asks, how to reconcile with a past mistake that hurt someone. I apologize. They said they accepted, but I can't free myself from feeling guilt. Marwa. Okay, I've been in this position, and you have a choice. If that person accepted your apology, and your apology was sincere, and their acceptance of it was sincere, and you are on okay terms, why are you feeling guilt? You really shouldn't. You're beating yourself up over something that you did, yes, but they gave you a chance to come back to them as a friend, or in a relationship, or what have you, and you need to honor that and take advantage of that and be okay with it. You're either going to believe they're sincere, or you're going to believe they are not sincere. And if you believe they are sincere, then you have to let go of the guilt and move on. Otherwise, it is all on you, and you will most likely just ruin that friendship. And that's not a great thing. So you forgive yourself as well for making this mistake. Be grateful that your friend was able to forgive you for it, and then move on. That's the only thing you really can do, other than being like, hey, I feel so much guilt that I can't talk to you anymore. And that's just kind of another terrible thing to do to somebody. So I wouldn't do that. Good question, though. Next one. Dark Griffin asks, what are some ways that introverted intuition manifests itself in an INFJ? I see a lot of people saying that we are always looking to the future, but I don't constantly try to envision the future, nor am I particularly good at it. I'm sure it's because of my depressive maladaptive daydreaming. Okay, so I feel like an imposter because I do not look to the future, and so on and so forth. Well, as far as intuition manifesting in an INFJ, you have to remember that it's on a subconscious level. And so you just have this like kind of intuition radar that's sort of like looking around at all this stuff and hoovering up all this information while you're sitting there doing something mundane, like making a turkey sandwich. And so that's going to be active no matter what. And it's not really something that you're going to be controlling on a conscious level. It's not like Spider-Man with like his spidey sense, looking around and like, I detect that something's weird. It doesn't really work that way. It's just feelings and gut instinct. And I think as far as looking to the future, I do believe that this is something that INFJs have a tendency to do, which is to look at possibilities and paths and patterns when it comes to that sort of thing, and sort of, looking to the future of all kinds of things. Like, you're on a road and the road is diverging into 100 different directions, and you could take any of them, and maybe you're thinking about it directly, maybe you're not, but in your head, a lot of those possibilities are are happening, and you're looking at them, and sometimes it is something that you see while you're daydreaming, and sometimes it is something that you don't. I think the main thing is to not worry about it. Don't think that you're a fraud because you may get something wrong, and also don't try to predict the future. Or if you do, try not to do it in such a concrete kind of way. So I do this in terms of writing, where I think about what I want out of writing. And it's not just to tell the story, but it's also hopefully to have this journey and help other people and say like, okay, well, these were the trials and tribulations that I went through with a creative work, and maybe my struggles, feeling like an imposter, feeling insecure, failing at it, as many times as I failed at it, will help you. So you understand that it is okay to do these things, and not everybody's perfect, and we're good to go. So I think looking to the future that way is a good thing. I think trying to predict future events, that's not going to work. Too many variables, too much else going on. And you may think, well, I believe this is going to happen. And I've done that before, and I've been pretty spot on a few occasions. But I have also been completely and totally wrong on a few occasions. And that's just life. You can't control everything. And I think letting go of the stuff that you can't control is probably the healthiest thing that you can do. Let's go. Okay, so we got a few more. Terry asks, as an INFJ, I'm a chronic procrastinator. Are you? Oh, yeah. And if you do manage to write much between this and the inevitable block. I don't like strangers knowing my innermost thoughts. I feel frustrated. I would like to write. I don't want anyone to see it. And take 5 years to write 2 lines. Any light you can shine would be appreciated. Well, yes, I procrastinate mightily. And I mean, this gets to the whole perfectionism thing. There's a reason I'm re-recording this video, and it's because of that. And there's a reason I waited until Friday afternoon to re-record the video that I want to release in just a couple hours, because I didn't feel like I could make it up to my standard. So I sat on it, and, I didn't do the one that I did yesterday. It wasn't right. These are all things that are normal. And I don't know if it's specifically an INFJ thing. I think it probably has a higher tendency with us than a lot of other types of people that just kind of wing it and go with the flow. We're not really wing it and go with the flow people. So there's that. As far as writer's block, it doesn't exist, at least in my mind. I think it's plot block. So I think anytime that I stall when I'm writing or creating something, it's because I'm unsure of my next step. And in that case, I try to give myself a couple of options. I could do it way A, I could do it the way B, or I could do it the way C. Which one would be the coolest? B is the coolest. I'm going to do B, and sort of get past it that way. And I think it does help. As far as not wanting people to understand your innermost thoughts, if there's no reason to give people your innermost thoughts, don't. One of the reasons, and one of the reasons I'm doing these videos and having this channel, is to let myself be vulnerable in front of other people, because I want to help people. I want to help you. And I don't believe I can do that without taking a risk to open myself up to some cuts along the way and to go through some difficult things. And that means trolls. And that means, feeling hit by comments that are accurate and that sting, or risking that I'm not being my authentic self. And so I believe that if you have a story to tell and you think it's an important story and you want to help others and you believe you can help others, you have to be one of those, you have to be the type of person that's willing to take a first step and to just step out into the light and say, look, this is me, and this is me vulnerable, and this is me taking a risk. And I hope this helps you. And here we go. And what you'll find, what I've found, is that you end up resonating with a lot more people. There's all kinds of stuff out there that is very polished. A lot of people don't want to see polished. They want to see the muck that you're crawling through in order to get where you want to go. Not just the perfection. This goes back to that whole Instagram society thing, right? Like, we always see the perfect picture with the perfect filter and the perfect pose. That's not what life is. Life is hard. Life has tears. Life has ups and downs. Life has moments where you want to quit and moments where you fail in grand fashion. Being able to share that with somebody is the way to most honestly help them. At least that's what I think. So that's what I'm doing now. I don't know. Maybe this doesn't work. I really have no idea. I'm just trying to speak from the heart here. But I believe you need to take a risk in order to help somebody out and in order to resonate with them. Okay, a couple more questions and we're done. From an aspiring young author, this is N. Boyd. From an aspiring young author, how do you translate your stories to words in a way that makes sense? Well, you write the story. For me personally, when I'm writing something, I see it as a movie. I see the characters, I see their mannerisms. I try to look at it in a way that's slightly exaggerated realism. If you've ever sat like somewhere where you're people watching and people are going back and forth and you look at people's mannerisms, you may see somebody that is constantly doing this to their hair to put it, I mean, I don't have to, but they're constantly doing that to put their hair behind their ear. You may see somebody that chews gum with their mouth open. You may see somebody that is walking and just mindlessly scrolling Instagram as they're walking through a public place. You could see somebody just the manners and ways in which they do any given thing. Those are the things that I try to pick up on to give color to a character. And I believe it makes a character jump off the page when he has some kind of a habit or something where they're always putting their hair up and then redoing it and redoing it again or something along those lines. The character in my book, anytime he's in a situation where he feels like he's failed and he's resigned to his fate, he pops a candy in his mouth, and it's the crinkly plastic butterscotch candies that he always has. And it's just a little mannerism, and it's one that I tend to hook into an event in the book to color that character. But when I close my eyes, I see it. I see the character, I see the story, I see the book, I see everything start to finish, the ending and it all fills in. So I kind of watch my story as a movie first, and then all I have to do is, I don't know, describe the movie, which is pretty easy because I can see it all. So use that awesome imagination of yours where you have that story in your head, and just when it's a scene or something small, close your eyes and write something about it. To get started, write something about the character, right? So you have a character in mind. So close your eyes, picture them, open your eyes, get on the keyboard, and you saw this kind of a jacket and these kinds of jeans, and he was about this tall and had this kind of manner, swayed when he walked, or what have you. Was there something about their speech that was a little bit different? Did they have an accent of some kind? You know, any little detail that you can write gives color to the story, and then from there you just flesh it out. Do the same thing with dialogue, do the same thing with a scene. Before you know it, you're staring at a story, and it's pretty awesome when that happens. It's such a great feeling. So thank you for that question. That's a really good one. Rebecca asks, it would be great to talk about being sensitive and getting feelings hurt easily. Look, I think, again, this is a separation of being an INFJ from a personality. And people can be soft-skinned, and people can have that crunchy exterior that they have where nothing bothers them and everything just rolls off of their shoulders and everything else. I think it's easy to hurt yourself than it is to really be hurt by somebody else's words. And the more moments you have where you have had success and have been able to get confidence from them, the more hardened you are to outside people cutting you with words and cutting those feelings and giving you hurt that way. One of the things that I did as I had my karate school running was I tried to put myself in situations that were really difficult. So I did obstacle races, I did Spartan races, and did a bunch of them. And those were incredibly difficult and almost failed, but I got to the finish line on each one. And those kind of moments let you build up some confidence. You have to do something to get out of your comfort zone, make it difficult for yourself, but then build some confidence, and then there you go. And, before you know it, you're accomplishing some pretty awesome things. And when somebody says, well, you're a loser, it's like, you know what, you couldn't do the things that I did, and you're too weak-minded to do the things that I did. I'm not the loser. And you're saying that because you're an insecure person and a coward that wants to cut me down to make yourself feel better. And the more you can give yourself experiences where you're able to have some confidence, the less everything is going to sting. But the more you doubt yourself and the more you knock yourself down, the easier it is for somebody else to knock you over when you least expect it. And I really think that that's something that that as a person you've got to do, is put yourself in those situations a little out of your comfort zone, but in a safe way, where you can have experiences where you look, you know what, I got to pat myself on the back. I did that and I was awesome. So be awesome. That's what this comes down to. And here we go. The last question from Nikki. I'm struggling with not being in the present moment. I'm daydreaming, overthinking everything when I really need to be focused. And when I'm in the present, I get easily overwhelmed and I miss my world. Do you have any tips on how to be more present and balanced? P.S. Sorry for my English. Your English was fine. Your English was great. Being more present and more balanced. Well, I think this comes down to a few things that I actually talked about on this video, which is finding those moments that you need and making sure you take care of yourself for those moments. There's an analogy that I always use, and I'm gonna kind of close out with this for this video because it's one that I just really find to be apt. When you're on an airplane and the person in the front is they're giving you the demonstration of what to do when there's an emergency. A lot of you have heard this before. I'm going to tell it again anyway for those who haven't. One of the things that they say is when there's a loss of pressure in the cabin, that oxygen masks come down from the ceiling. And so they say that if you have somebody with you that needs their mask put on, you put yours on first. And then you help them, whether it's a child or somebody who's elderly or what have you. You make sure that you can breathe before you help somebody else breathe. And I think that's just a critical metaphor for life. I believe that you need to make sure that you are the person that is taking care of yourself so you can be at your best for the ones that are in your life and the ones that you love. And so when you are feeling overwhelmed, that's just your body giving you a sign, and it's telling you, look, it's a bit much right now. You need to take care of yourself, and you need to do the things that get you balanced, and then you will be overwhelmed less. And it really, really works. If you need to find solitude, then you find the solitude, and give yourself the space to daydream. And let your mind do all of those things. It's okay. It's healthy to be in your own head like that. Getting overwhelmed is something that's going to happen when your thoughts just sort of run away and when you are unbalanced. I don't think you can say like your thoughts are running away from you because you're unbalanced. I think it's more like you're unbalanced and so your thoughts are running away from you. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to kind of switch it around. You have control over that. And you have control over making yourself a healthier person as far as your thought process goes. So do the things that you need to do to stay healthy and to stay okay. And then after that, you're going to find that you're going to be overwhelmed a lot less. This is something that comes with some experience as an older INFJ, certainly. I've had those moments, particularly when I was in my early 20s where just every single thought was an absolute runaway freight train running over everything, farm animals, whatever, off the rails. That's really what it felt like for a period of about 15 years for me. And I went through some really, really tough stuff during that time, and being able to get myself a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, and to be able to step back and look in the mirror and say, okay, you are not a good person right now and you need to change, and it's not anybody else's fault. It's not the fault of your parents. It's not the fault of your family. It's not the fault of the person you're in a relationship with. These are things that are within your control, and so you need to control them. And that's a very, very difficult thing to do. It is hard to look in a mirror and look at somebody that you believe can improve, and that somebody is you staring back. But it's the first step that you've got to take in order to get yourself okay and to be okay for other people. I really hope that helps. So anyway, thank you. The Q&A is now done. I'm going to be back on videos, hopefully not recording them over and over and over again because I am not happy with how they're coming out. But I'll be back to that next week. I'm going to do some stuff on writing, maybe some INFJ stuff. Who knows? Just all sorts of fun smorgasbord coming back at you. But thank you. This has been a super fun exercise, and I absolutely love engaging with you guys. So please, fire off questions whenever you have questions. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitter's whatever. Or I mean, just even on the YouTube channel and comments and on the community page and all that kind of stuff. I'm all over the place. Just go to the site or wherever if you want to engage. I'm happy to hear from you. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you.